Well, if you're on the West Coast, good morning and good afternoon and good evening. Uh, if you're in Israel or in Europe, as Mohammad said, I'm Jonathan Lack. I'm a native Texan, but found second chapter in Marin County, so I'm on the West Coast. I believe I've been on the board now for 2 years. I was actually trained at Givat Haviva, sorry, it's embarrassed to say, 40 years ago as a young community worker that lived in the Arab sector that worked on, they didn't call it shared society there. Then Mohammed hadn't coined it yet, but on Dukiyum. And I believe that what we're trying to do now in the States, and the work is needed more now than ever, is to expand our presence in the U.S., different cities, deeper in the communities that we are in, and working with institutions primarily in the Jewish community, but also in the non-Jewish community, to educate people about the work that Givat Haviva is doing, with the ultimate goal of raising funds to support their efforts. And so this past year, what we have done, and you'll notice if you go to our website, it's a new website, it's a new newsletter, and we are constantly going to be improving our presence and our touch points throughout the country. And the response in the cities where we have done events, and Mohammed's been all over the country doing events, and we just did some in the Bay Area and Atlanta. I believe he was in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, St. Louis, Chicago. It's hard to keep up everywhere. The response is very positive. And that means that we are, in this time of crisis, a much needed voice. Not everybody has the perfect solution, but a lot of people like what Givat Haviva is doing. And we just need to get the word out because there are a lot of people that don't know about Givat Haviva. And we don't have to convince them, we just have to educate them, and they will be very supportive of it. And so with that, I'll turn it back to Mohammed.
Okay, meanwhile, I also would like to welcome Yoram Bosk-Haddad. He's from our French board of directors, and also Jay Wax from Toronto. I see also some very old friends and supporters, Gary Gladstein, Robert Fram. Great to see you. It's been a long time since we met in person, Gary, but Robert, I saw you a few weeks ago before the elections. Didn't go as you wanted, but at least we're here together. We're going to the idea behind today is really to give you a quick briefing of where Givat Haviva is at today. Some of you who are more active in these meetings are a bit updated, some are not, so we'll have more thorough update of where we are at, and maybe share with you some of the plans for next year. For some of you, this is maybe the first time that they meet with Michal. Michal has been our CEO for the last 3 years. She used to be the chief figure on behalf of the New Israel Fund, working at the Knesset, lobbying at the Knesset. But before that, she was also in the media with Channel 12 news. So she comes with a lot of political and media experience. And as I said, she's been director of Givat Haviva for the last 3 years. Michal, you want to start with the briefing, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see you. I think I met most of you already, and it's great to see you. I thought that maybe I will give you a quick update about what's happening in Israel in general and how Givat Haviva fits into everything that is happening, and also we can talk a bit about how we're going to close this year and open the new one, and what's the new developments in Givat Haviva. And then we can have some time for questions. I think it is safe to say that the last week was very eventful in Israel. What's happening right now is that on one hand, most of us don't really know what is the real strategy or what's going on in Gaza. There is no war, like an active war in Gaza on one hand. On the other, horrible things are happening every day. The hostages are almost forgotten in political terms in Israel. It's a non-issue. It's only an issue in the streets, in demonstration, but it's not a political issue. Nobody is really talking about it in a serious way. On the other hand, you still see a lot of reserve going to Gaza. Soldiers are being killed every day, and of course, the horrible, horrible, horrible situation for civilians in Gaza is continuing. I think that the most extreme thing that we had in the last 48 hours is that Bogi Ya'alon, if you remember him, he was the Minister of Defense and also the head of the IDF. He's a very basically a right-wing Likud persona, but he said in national television that what we see in Gaza is an ethnic cleansing, and he can't really see it or understand it in a different way. That was a huge story in Israel, the fact that someone from the right, it's true that he's an opponent of Netanyahu, but he's a right-wing political figure, and he said that. I think that's very, very extreme in Israeli eyes. In the north, what we saw and what we're experiencing is a kind of a ceasefire. It looks like it's not really the same feeling in Lebanon, but what we see here is a kind of a weird ceasefire, although the people who are still living in the north saying that Hezbollah already returned to the villages near the border. So nobody is really sure that this ceasefire is going to last. And also, I think that most of us don't really see the rationale behind this ceasefire. Of course, everybody wants ceasefire, everybody wants to come back to their homes, and everybody wants to see the people of the North living normal lives. But nobody really understands what is behind this deal because it doesn't look like something that can hold for long from what we know from the news. So I think there are a lot of things that are just, were said behind closed doors. It's not in the media, it's not in the public, it's not transparent. Nobody really understands what's going on in that sense. And most of the people in the security field saying that they give this ceasefire or this deal like a 50-50 shot. They're not really sure that it's going to hold. I think that there's a lot of confusion in the Israeli public and a lot of desperation because a lot of people are experiencing is that they are demonstrating, they're going to the street, they're doing whatever they can, but this coalition is just getting stronger and stronger. If you remember, a few weeks ago, another party from, let's say, the center right joined the coalition. And then this very, very firm and strong coalition of 64 seats became a super strong coalition of 68 seats. And then, at least me, maybe Mohammad have another idea, but I don't see a way for this coalition to fall right now or to crumble right now. Even if there's going to be some kind of a fight within the coalition or some kind of instability within the coalition, of course it can happen. It's Israeli politics, everything can happen all the time, but it looks very, very stable, which is weird. If you look at the circumstances, if you look at their Israeli reality, it's weird that the government is so stable. And I think it brings a lot of people to ask if they have any kind of power as citizens at this stage. In a very weird way, but positive way, I think, is the fact that if we take this situation, if we take this reality, And then we just look into Givat Haviva, into our little campus, our little bubble. In Givat Haviva, things are basically the same, and our programs are actually getting larger and stronger. The only explanation that I have to that is that I think that still the majority of Israelis, and of course the majority of educators and parents, understand that they want to live here. They understand they're going to live here together, and they want their kids to be less afraid. And the only way you can have a kid that is not terrified all the time in Israel is to give them a little bit of stability, a little bit of normality, and the tools to not be afraid of each other all the time. And I think that what Givat Haviva is now giving people and giving kids and giving educators and giving the whole population that is now a part of our programs, and we're getting larger in that sense and wider. Like we're trying to approach other age groups and not just kids and youth. I think that what we're giving them is the tools to hold your reality with two hands and control it. And that's a lot for an Israeli right now, to be able to control your life, to control your reality, to control your fears, to control the way you look at the other. We can do it through mitigating between Jews and Arabs in a certain community. We can do it through bringing youth together and to make them understand that they both are afraid of this situation, but they shouldn't be afraid of each other because they're both Israelis, even if they're Jews or Arabs. And the fact that they can talk about the situation and the fact that they can see themselves in the other, I think it gives them a lot of security, a lot of this sense of being able to move around my country, or what is left of where is safe to move within our country, which is a very small area, and to still feel it's your home and that you're safe in your home. And I think that's a lot. That's my explanation of why teachers and parents are still sending their kids to our programs. That's my explanation of why more and more teachers and principals are, searching for our programs and asking for programs and for training. And I also think that's why the Ministry of Education is still supporting us. And they're supporting us in like the highest amounts they supported us since I'm the CEO, since the last 3 years. For instance, our program for teaching Hebrew in Arab schools, we have a program of allocating Jewish teachers in Arab schools in order for them to teach spoken Hebrew. This program, we thought after the 7th, I don't know your perspective about it, actually, Mohammed. So it'll be interesting. It will be interesting to hear it. But we thought that most of the teachers are going to leave this program. That the Jewish teachers will be too afraid to actually attend the Arab schools, to come back after the 7th and to teach there. And only one teacher left. So this program is operating in 50 schools in Israel. And last week we had a delegation of like high-ranked officers from the Ministry of Education coming to learn about this program and to see if they can even expand that. That's a program that our Ministry of Education with this government is investing in this program around 9 million shekels a year. That's a lot for a program that is aimed for shared society, to teach spoken Hebrew to the Arab population. It's not like the first agenda that you will think that this government have. We have another program that is new, another new department in the Jewish and Arab Center for Peace, and that's the leadership department. After the 7th, we felt that we can't only stay in the field of education. We also need to think about young adults and young leaders. So we've opened 3 programs for young adults from the age of, let's say, 19 or 20 to the age of 35, just for leadership. One of them is a uninational program where a Jewish group and an Arab group can learn about what happened to the other side since the 7th. So the Arab group is learning about how the Jewish population in Israel experienced the 7th and the month after that, and also the background for all of these feelings, different narratives, historical, collective memory, etc. And the same goes for a Jewish group that is studying and learning about what happened to the Palestinian citizens of Israel since the 7th and what they experienced. And of course, the background for that. We have one program that is shared for Jewish and Arab Israelis who are young leaders that we see the potential in them, and we want them to have this shared experience and to think about shared society. And the third program is going to open in January, and that's a women program, a shared Jewish and Arab women program for women in our area, in the area of Givat Haviva. We see, or I can see at least, that our team is, of course, full of energy in the sense that we understand our mission and we understand that it's super important right now. But also, I can say that people are struggling personally, a lot of from all of the angles you can think of, right? So we have mothers with that they have their sons in the reserve in Gaza or in the north. Some women have a husband and two boys in the reserve at the same time, in the north or in the south. We have people with families in Gaza. They didn't hear from their families since, I don't know, a few months ago, or they know what's going on with their families, but they know that the situation is really, really bad and they have nothing to do about it. And they even feel that they can't even say something about it or share it on social media or anything because it's dangerous for them in Israel as citizens of Israel, which actually makes it worse, in my opinion. We have families from the Arab communities around us suffering from violence within the Arab society, while the Israeli police is not doing a lot to change it or to help them. So I think that everything is functioning, and that's positive. But also, after more than a year, we do feel that people are struggling because they're human, and they're dealing with this very, very, very hard and heavy topics while experiencing living in this war, and caring for the families in Israel, in Gaza, in the West Bank, and abroad. So what we're doing for that is mainly giving people space to share, giving people space to understand that we're in it together. Even the team of Givat Haviva, it's a shared team, it's a mixed team. We're in it together and we can understand each other, and we can help each other. We are giving financial support for mental support for our team, and I think that's crucial and very important. And we also try to give the team tools to be more resilient. That's now a very Israeli thing to just, talking about how you can be more resilient as a person and as a team and how we can go through it. And I'm proud that we're doing it for our team, and people are responding to that and tell us that they feel safer at work, that they feel that they have support, that they have our back as an organization. It's not really our job, right? Because it's not shared society in Israel. But I do think that it's also important to maintain our organization and our team strong and resilient so we can do this work for the rest of our society.
Great. Thank you, Michal. I'll take it from here and add some more comments, and then we would like to hear from you a little bit. We are at the place where Jewish-Arab relations are at their highest level of tension ever in history. There are two. Sorry, I'm not feeling very well. There are two indexes we're checking. One is the rate of mistrust, which is today at almost 81% of the Jewish population in Israel mistrusting Arab citizens, and about 60% of Arab citizens mistrusting and fearing Jewish citizens. This is the highest trait ever that existed in Jewish-Arab relations in history. This is what we checked in January this year, and we don't have reason to believe that it dropped since. Actually, we're just about to commission a new research in this field that will be presented in our annual conference on the 30th of January. That's when we will have our new annual conference. So any of you that will be in Israel, you're welcome to join us. It will be at the Rabin Center in Tel Aviv. But basically, what I want to say here is that our subject matter, our problem, the Jewish-Arab relations, has more than doubled. Those numbers were less than half before October 6th. And there's always a fear that Jewish-Arab relations might slide into violent nature very quickly. And many are surprised that it's not. Since October 7th, we've had 18 Arab citizens that engaged in political violence. There were 18 incidents. Some feared that it will be 1,800 incidents, and some feared that it could have been 18,000 incidents. The fact that it's at 18 only seems to be something tolerable, and all of the 18 incidents were individual incidents, not a result of organizational type of effort. There was no organization. There was not two, three people organizing themselves, just single individuals that got to a point of mental stage that they felt that they need to take violent political action against either police or civilians, Jewish civilians. In our view, this is 18 too many. But at the same time, it is still contained with 18 cases over the last 14 months. All of those cases were denounced by the Arab political leadership. Complete agreement on this perspective. And basically, many are trying to pull emergency brakes after each one of those incidents to try to prevent Jewish-Arab relations to slide into that direction, despite two main forces trying to bring about physical friction and physical confrontations. One is pressure that is coming from the outside. It could be calls from people in Hamas or other people in the Arab world to encourage Arab citizens to open another front of confrontation. And the second is provocations that are coming from some figures in the Israeli government, most specifically ministers Ben Gvir and Smotrich, who are taking a lot of political decisions and actions that are trying to provoke Arab citizens to engage into physical violence because that serves their political interest. The latest was today, actually last night, with Ben Gvir announcing that he's going to ask the police to confiscate the loudspeakers from the mosques because they make too much noise. And he's going to start in the mixed cities. And that's exactly where the May 21 events happened. So he's looking at one of the most sensitive places where there was the most recent tension and is trying to fuel that area through religious case or religious concept because he sees maybe that might be easy provocation. He's done other actions over the last 12 months. There were 1,200 Arab citizens that were arrested by the police with charges that they are encouraging or supporting terror organizations. In reality, only about 30 of those files matured into legal action. And then the question is why were 1,170 people arrested? If you only get less than 2%, why do you arrest the 98%? And it seems that he's fishing for and provoking for to trigger kind of action, and specifically targeting the young elite, which is the student population. who maybe are more easily triggered because they're young. But he's trying to, usually your students lead activities in society. They're much better spoken, and if they get involved into action, then they might lead others into this kind of action. We also witnessed another action by the Minister of Finance, Minister Smotrich, when he applied the budget cuts to sponsor the war in April. He applied 5% budget cut throughout the whole budget lines in Israeli budget for 2024. And the budgets that are directed to the Arab municipalities were cut by 20 to 25%, which is again weakening already weak municipal institutions in the Arab community, disabling them from being able to provide the basic services and the feeling that they are being cared for and attended for during this period. Mind you, that 50% of Arab towns and villages are under shelling until 3 days ago, until the ceasefire. All the half of the Arab towns were receiving shelling from Lebanon without having proper places to hide, no proper shelters, which adds to the feeling of bitterness and negligence that the Arab community is feeling marginalized and neglected by the Israeli government. So there is, what I'm describing to you is a lot of tension that does give a lot of ingredients for a potential of an explosion in the relations, but they are not exploding. And the reason we attribute that to is for the success of past efforts over the last 2 decades to create buffers that can absorb that tension. What some of you heard me call once islands of success in Jewish-Arab relations. The fact that almost 1/3 of the medical industry, the doctors and dentists and nurses and pharmacists, 1/3 of the manpower in this field are Arab citizens. 20% of the students in universities. This is something that evolved over the last 2 decades. 2 decades ago, it was barely 3.5%. That's another island of success that people feel worth protecting. So worth protecting the integration in the medical industry, worth protecting the integration into the academia and other job arenas such as the high-tech industry, which is slowly opening up to the Arab community. The fact that there are about 13% of the civil servants are Arab employees today, when 2 decades ago it was 1.7%. We've accumulated few islands of success that are helping in two ways. One, slow down any kind of sliding into potential confrontations. And second, has allowed us quicker healing from crisis. The previous crisis the big crisis we went through was October 2000. Then 13 Arab citizens were killed. Professor Sami Smoha wrote an article 10 years later, and he called it the lost decade in Jewish-Arab relations. He claimed that it took 10 years to heal Jewish-Arab relations as a result of the crisis in October 2000. In May 21, we had similar kind of violent incidents, but we did not have the same results in casualties because the police learned the lesson not to use live ammunition. So we did not have 13 Arab casualties. There was only one person killed in al-Fahim, and that did not develop into high, high level of tension that resulted with funerals, that resulted with additional demonstrations and then additional funerals. And I had a long discussion with Professor Smoha in June, and we do agree that the healing capacity is much, much faster right now. It did not take us a decade to heal from the crisis of May 21. It took us 10 years in 2000, and we believe that it took us less than a year to heal from the May 21 incidents. Now we're going through this violent turmoil that's affecting Jewish-Arab relations, and those islands of success are holding, but not only because of the past success, but because of the current intervention of civil society organizations, namely, and most importantly, a lot of the work of Givat Haviva. We've done a few interventions that I would mention. The first one was actually not in Jewish Arab relations, but sent a significant message. Givat Haviva, we hosted 300 evacuees from the Gaza enveloping towns, evacuees, and the staff that was caring for them were Jewish and Arab staff of Givat Haviva. And this gave a strong message that the Jews and Arabs are together in this task, in this mission, in this social part of a national crisis. There was also another fact: 36 Arab citizens were killed on October 7th. So there was a sense of shared victimhood between the two communities that lasted for maybe 2, 3 months until the Arab community started seeing the visions and photos of the destruction and the savage nature of destruction in Gaza, and then they started pulling out of the Israeli mainstream perspective of what happened on October 7th. Most Israeli Jews see October 7th and only October 7th. Arab citizens see October 7th and October 8th onwards. And they consume media that comes from Israeli Hebrew media, but also from Arab media, from Palestinian media. And they see the atrocities of what's happening to the Palestinians, and they know how to count not only the 1,200 Israelis that were killed on October 7th and maybe the few hundred others that were killed afterwards. They also know how to count the 44,000 Palestinians that have been killed since October 8th. So that there is a built tension. And our engagement has been in a number of ways. One, we are working at universities to try to bring about calm. And what we do is three layer strategy. We work with the administration on how to set regulations and what are the norms that the university wants to apply during crisis time, so that there's no misunderstanding of what is legal or what's not legal, what's allowed or what's not allowed. Is it okay for an Israeli soldier to come to university campus to sit next to an Arab student with a machine gun in his hand? A machine gun that maybe was used that same week in Gaza. Is that okay? Is that accepted by the university? The university should clarify if this is the norm at the university or not, and not allow this to become a discussion in the classroom. Is it okay for an Arab student to demonstrate holding a Palestinian flag in the lawn of the university? There should be a regulation to say this is okay or not for a single security officer at the university to decide if this is right or wrong. The second is we train senior professors on how to what we call quickly repack dialogue that might slide into violent nature, to try to contain it and try to go back to the normal goal of that class, which might be studying physics or studying math, to quickly contain it and prevent it from becoming a shouting match or maybe a fist fight that might develop much, much beyond that. The third engagement we do is we do students that do want to talk and do want to engage, they are invited to a dialogue a group that we co-facilitate with a Jewish and Arab facilitator, so that it is an organized facilitated dialogue and not chaotic shouting matches. You probably are witnessing in the US those shouting matches that are developing into very intimidating situations. And we've been relatively very successful, despite being the closest to the fire. We are actually not witnessing the nature of American campuses that are very much on fire as a result of the pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian confrontations. We've activated the Mayor's Forum, a program that we have running for a number of years, but we're activating it also, including the Business Forum, which is Jewish and Arab business leaders from neighboring towns. We're activating them to work as crisis management team so that they know whom to call if there's a friction between kids from neighboring towns. Not always, we know that the police is not always the right address or the right phone number to call. Sometimes it's the mayor is the right person to call, and the mayor will call his neighboring mayor, and they can contain the situation and prevent it from escalating and becoming something that certain politicians might want to capitalize on. And Michal also highlighted the fact that we are doing more facilitators training. We've done more facilitators training this year than probably in the last decade. It's capacity building because we know we're basically preparing ourselves for the day after. The day after, the war will be over sometime soon, or whatever we call it today. I don't know if we, as Michal said, I don't know if we can call it war in Gaza today or not. But the situation will end, and Jewish Arab relations in Israel will have to go into the healing process. So we are building capacity in being able to engage very quickly into larger scale healing process. So instead of working last year, we worked with 17,774 kids in the variety of our educational programs. We want to be able to work with 50,000 next year, which means our staff needs to be stronger. Our internal process needs to go through what is needed to go through so that we have clear work plan with which we know how to handle and we know how to engage with the schools and the different ministries, not to start training people when the time allows it. And actually, this is beginning to prove itself. Despite what's happening at Givat Haviva, Jewish and Arab kids are coming to meet. Jewish and Arab artists are coming for joint residency programs. Jewish and Arab youth are going to joint school, the international school that we have. We're probably one of the only havens where this work is happening. Some people might call it completely maybe a bubble in this chaos, but we do not have the intention to stay a bubble. We have the intention to widespread our work, and that's why we do more leadership training today. That's why we do capacity training for teachers. That's why we have the cross-sector teachers programs. That's why we we hosted almost 70 heads of human resources in different corporations in Israel to, sorry, to give them and train them with some basic skills on how to contain tension between Jewish and Arab employees. We look at the wider society in which we try to engage in and not just wait for those 17,000 youth to come to Givat Haviva. If you count the number of people that we work with, it's much, much bigger. And the last thing is that we have put on our target for the coming few years to try to gather some of our alumni. If every year we have about 15 to 20,000, it means that since 1963, that's almost 61 years ago, we've had at least 500,000 people that have gone through Givat Haviva's work. It makes it the biggest operation in the history of Jews and Arabs ever. We've worked with more than 500,000 people. We want to bring as many of them as possible under the framework of an alumni program. It will take us maybe a few years until that program becomes effective in its nature. And we want the alumni themselves to be the ones that lead it. So it's not just staff leading it. But the goal there is to go back to people that we worked with 10, 15 years ago and say, we need you, one, to help us in our work, and second, to maybe take our work to other areas. Maybe they can come with their own initiatives to widen the impact and effectiveness of our work. So we're 45 minutes into the discussion. We wanted to allow another maybe 15 minutes for Q&A or comments from anyone that is here. I also want to notice that Ruth Ratter is our chair of Friends of Givat Haviva in Germany. Welcome and good to see you, Ruth. All right, if anyone, we'll probably do it by anyone that raises a hand. We'll see the sequence, and we'll take maybe 2-3 comments, questions at every time, and attend to them. Not all together. You can do, there's the button which is called react below. You can raise your hand there. And I see that there are some comments. Barbara. No, Barbara, I'm not in the US now, but I'm coming back tomorrow. That connects to maybe some piece of information that I haven't mentioned. This semester, I've been teaching at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I came back for a quick visit home, and I'm returning back to the US tomorrow to complete my semester. I'll be in the US for the next 2 weeks, and some of you I will see because I will be in New York. I'll see some of you in New York. I'll see some of you in where else? In Chicago, in Cleveland. Those are the 3 towns I will be visiting in the next 2 weeks. All right, so Ken, let's hear from you.
Hi, Mohammed and Michal. Really, this is so encouraging. It's really, thank you both for a very thorough presentation. Very encouraging. I just want to ask one question about what Michal referred to, and Mohammed can comment also. Can you tell a little bit more about what Givat Haviva is doing on the issue of violence in Arab communities?
Thank you, Ken. Marty?
Oh, my question. Hi, Mohammed. Good to see you here in DC. My question has to do with, are you aware of alumni whose professional lives have advanced here in the United States and who are available in a way to expand the network here?
Barbara?
Okay, I'm very interested, of course, in alumni for my connection with Heart to Heart. What I would love to see is you've done so much. You're amazing. You have so many alumni from Givat Haviva, but there are also alumni from other shared programs. And what I have in my head is the idea of bringing together people who've experienced significant programs with the other and creating a movement where people see the hope that, of course, we can work with the other. And I'm wondering whether you've thought not only of bringing Givat Haviva alumni together, but alumni of other shared programs so that people can build on that hope and that partnership and that mutual respect for a different future for Israel.
Here, we'll take the last one for
I
this
always
one.
think big because I'm little.
We'll take Friedel, and then all the 4 people that have made comments and asked, you can take your hand down so we can allow others for a second round.
Yeah,
Go
thank
ahead,
you very
Friedel.
much, Michal and Mohammed. I'm so extremely impressed with what you are doing. I cannot really tell how much I admire the things you are doing and how much we would need things like that in Germany too, but that's another story. But my question is, Michal, you mentioned that you are working with young entrepreneurs together. Probably it's a stupid question, but of course you know that Yaniv is working with MEET and he is doing the same thing. So this is what Barbara said too, that you kind of find other people who are doing kind of the same thing you are doing so that together you will be stronger.
Okay, so we'll stop here. Michal, you want to take the same first round?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for your questions and remarks. Ken, about what we're doing in Givat Haviva about violence in the Arab society. I think we have 2 programs that touch upon this subject. One is our mediation centers. We talked about it in the past. We've opened 5 mediation centers in different villages in the north part of Israel. Some of them are really up north, so they can't function because because of the war, but 3 of them are functioning. And basically, what we're doing in this mediation center is that we take a group of leaders from this community, we train them to be mediators, and then we open a center with the local municipality. And then, of course, we can't handle through mediation with organized crime, but we can handle some smaller arguments or tension within the community that in this situation that now we have in the Arab sector can deteriorate to crime and violence very quickly. So we can, catch these intensities when they're still small. That's one thing that we're doing, and Givat Haviva we have some experts from mediation in our organization. And the second thing we're doing is that this women program that we talked about, that we're going to open, is basically women in business program. And the rationale behind it, or how it relates to the violence and crime, is that because the small businesses world is really struggling to function under or in a situation where organized crime is so strong. And we think that maybe the connection between Jewish women in business and Arab women in business can actually help the Arab businesses to not fall into this circle of violence. That's the second thing that we're doing. Friedel, I didn't talk about entrepreneurs, although I know, of course, what Yaniv is doing. We're working with women in business, so it's a bit different, but I totally agree with you that we need to cooperate with other organizations. And I have to say that I kind of feel that in the last 3 years, we are functioning together. So we had a pretty large project with Abraham Initiatives and the Center for Social Justice after the 7th. We worked together for 8 months building these groups all over the countries of Jews and Arabs working together to keep violence low and to communicate with each other when needed. And I agree with you. That's the only way we can make a real impact, if we will not do the same but work together.
I will add in also on the high-tech aspect. We have one project called the High-Tech Seeds, in which we identify Arab kids who are very good in mathematics in 8th grade, and from 9th grade, they start taking academic courses in computer science. This year has been the highest rate ever in which the kids basically graduate from Givat Haviva's program, which is a 2-year program, into the 3rd-year program, which is going into college and becoming full tenured students in college. We've got more than 55 kids out of 100. That's 55%. Our rate in the past was closer to 25%. This is the first time we jumped to that rate. It means that we are now perfecting our capacity and improving our capacity to do 2 things. One, better selection of the candidates. That's we get more kids that have higher potential of succeeding in the program, but also what we call the enveloping services. We know how to run the program in a better way that helps the kids become much more significant or much more successful into the program. We only have 5 minutes, so what I want to do is, I want to we'll split it between 2, between me and Michal and the rest of you. Basically, I'll make a comment and then we will hear comments from you. No more questions. My comment is as follows. You've been strong supporters and funders of many of the programs that we shared with you, and we're counting on you. Next year budget, which we just approved in management, and now it's moving to the board, is going to be about 10 million shekels for shared society activities. It's the largest by far. It's about $3 million. It's the largest by far of any organization, but naturally, because we do almost 70% of the work on education for shared society, 70% of the work in this field happens under the auspices of Givat Haviva. We do partnerships, Barbara. We love partnerships. We love competition. We would like people to take more from us and maybe expand on our expense. that we need not one Givat Haviva, we need 200 Givat Havivas. So the more organizations there are, the better. Most of the facilitators we train are not for us. They're actually taken, borrowed, kidnapped by other organizations. We happily say take them. We want trained facilitators in the field. So the more organizations are willing to take them, the more facilitators we're going to train. As an issue leader in this field, we do not see competing organizations as competitors. We see them as complementing organizations. And wherever we have a chance to collaborate on programs, we do it. Wherever we have a chance to collaborate on advocacy, we do it. Wherever we have a chance to collaborate in joint fundraising, we do it. But still, in the field of education for shared society, Givat Haviva operates 70% of the market. Next year, we plan to expand our budget from 9 million shekels to 10 million shekels. That's the new target. It's basically about 11% increase in our budget. And we're counting on you. We're counting on your support. We're counting on your additional engagement. As I said, our problem has more than doubled. Our subject matter has more than doubled. We know what to do. We know how to do it. We know how to measure success, and we show actual results. And we do hope that you will make sure that attend to us in end of year donations. December is the month where most people make their financial decisions regarding donations, but not only do it yourself. I mean, you're ready for the friends and supporters. We also would like you to reach out to other friends and supporters. We need to make that additional 1.1 million shekels addition in our budget to be able to meet our goals. So I'll stop here, and that allows us maybe 2 more minutes for people. I see some people are putting comments in chat, but you have time to make comments also by audio. Michal, you want to say a word also?
No, I think I want to leave the 2 last minutes for other people to talk.
If there's no one, I'll start calling on people.
I
Friedel
think
is
Friedel want to. Yeah.
Friedel, go ahead,
Thank you
unmute
very much.
yourself.
I just would like to love if all those figures you gave us, Mohammed, especially, and Michal too, if you could write it down and we can translate it into German, because when I'm talking to people and telling them that the programs are even improving and getting more and more people who are interested in these programs, they are very impressed. So if we have some figures, it would help us a lot raising money for the issues.
I'll add a quick comment before we go off. That sounds wonderful suggestion. There have been a number of organizations in Canada that are now very actively wanting to try to reduce tensions related to the war here. And I've been part of doing programs at universities and with philanthropy groups and stuff like that. I'm wondering about collaborating. I'm wondering about sharing our ideas on how we're doing it, and also taking advantage of the wonderful work that you're doing that builds hope. And so I'm open for a discussion. That's all.
Wonderful. I see, Julie, you wanted to say something? I saw you unmuted yourself.
Yes, hi there. I'm here in Palm Springs, California, after about 8 to 10 years ago, having the most incredible experience being an add-on when my daughter was working at Bar-Ilan University for the gap year program, and being like a +1 to go on the tour and be taken on a bus. Please help me remember the incredible woman who was guiding those tours and was welcomed across the Green Line as we,
Lydia
yes,
Eisenberg.
please.
Lydia Eisenberg.
Yeah. Unbelievable. It actually changed my life. So I was, sorry, a little emotional. I was able to come back and for these years tell the story about how happy the Arabs were to have work in the settlements, if you will, how they crossed their border and were allowed back home with their lunch pails, you know, whistling while they work, getting paychecks, and the stories told that just don't tell the truth. You know, trying to dispel them over the years one by one as I can, and now doing whatever I can to try to bring attention to your cause because it's amazing work. Thank you. And I can't even imagine how you've held up during these times, and I know they're not over yet. So yeah, I'm here in California. I would love to get a program going here. Hello, that's me.
Jonathan is also in California. He's
I
in,
caught that. So if Jonathan would reach out to me, maybe I'm in Southern Cal, so okay.
and your email is with us with Sadie, so she'll connect.
Please, but honestly, you know the work you do. That's why everyone here is involved, and you're right about preaching to the choir. It needs to go beyond. So to Washington, I've got some connections.
Jay?
Thank you for your work. I'm done.
Thank you.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
In response to Barbara Landau's concern about tensions in Canada, and speaking as a Torontonian, and having been deeply involved with the Aboriginal community some years ago, they had stated that you know, everybody's welcome to these lands, but to bring in the problems from other countries into these lands just tends to increase the already excruciating conditions that can exist for many people, especially Aboriginals. And that I think, you know, Jews should keep a low profile, and not that we shouldn't speak our minds and opinions when we have to, as I'm doing right now, but that it's not a good idea to turn this into a Canadian, you know, campaign, and it's just tearing apart the peoples of the Muslims and the Jews and all around, because we're bringing in the politics of the Mideast. And sure, we have to be concerned to do what we can, but my feeling is signing with the Aboriginals and not bringing our problems and creating them to expand in these environments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Anyone else? Anyone else wants to say something before we say thank you and enjoy the rest of your day?
Yeah, Mohammed, I'd just like to encourage certainly the folks in the States to go to the website, usfogh.org.
I just shared it in chat.
Great. And it's the way to keep informed with events that are happening across the states, and news and articles and videos. This video will be on there. So your friends who couldn't make it, you can encourage them to go to the site. The video will be there. You won't have to send them the link. And we certainly in the States, we need your feedback. There's been about 70 people on this call. We need 700, 7,000, 70,000. And there are 70,000, 700,000 people out there that if they knew about this organization and the work that's being done would be supportive of it. We wouldn't even have to convince them. We just have to inform them. So everybody has circles, Rolodexes, and we welcome your ideas on how do we get people that you know would love this work and support this work more engaged. I think that's our biggest challenge here on this side of the world, is finding the people we know will support this, who just don't know about it. And I'm happy to help with people and talk to people, you know, offline about that.
Great. Let's have Miriam as the last person to say a word.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Toda Rabba, Shokran. Well, the work that you do is so incredibly important, especially at this moment. And I find that people I thought were like-minded, that group is really diminished right now, and it's all about fear and misinformation. And the work that you're doing instill trust and understanding is life-saving. So thank you so much for this work.
Well, thank you, Miriam, and thanks for everyone that stayed even a bit longer than what's expected, and appreciate your support. It was wonderful seeing many of you in person, and I look forward to seeing a few more in the next couple of weeks. And we're approaching the holiday season, so we want to wish you also a happy holiday season. Whoever is celebrating Hanukkah, whoever is celebrating New Year's, enjoy it, and maybe let's hope maybe next year will be a better year for all of us. Better year meaning, first of all, end of war, and second, stronger capacity of Givat Haviva to do much, much more. Michal, your last word.
Thank you so much for your support. It really means the world for us.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.